era.
But the fundamental geopolitical strategy
Yes.
and the execution of that strategy was handled by the same people towards the same goals. The set dressing changed, however.
Kind of essay and then now video essay, I guess, is about that. But, it also highlights the example of the Iraq War, that people didn't remember the way that they thought about the Iraq War at the time. People's memory of it, what they said they believed at the time, not their belief on it now, altered. And that is very, very, very common. It's clear as well that the Freedom Fries War on Terror era is very different, and is a very different political era to the black president prophecy fulfillment of the Obama era.
But the fundamental geopolitical strategy
Yes.
and the execution of that strategy was handled by the same people towards the same goals. The set dressing changed, however, because the political moment could be shifted and adjusted to and from what was necessary.
You have identical foreign policy and very nearly identical domestic policy with emphasis in different places, but it's the political moment that's made up by the political framing. It's the framing of what's going on. It's not what is actually going on. People think that we attribute magical powers to the elite. We do not. They have a low control in some instances over what happens in reality. They can't fight decline with their money magic, for example. But the framing of events by mass propaganda is within their remit.
Yes.
They are the ones who set the propaganda. That is what they can do. And so the ruling elite use it to create the legitimacy, the belief in their legitimacy and necessity, without being directly present.
And given the need to perpetuate atomization for the purpose of getting people to participate in the political system, these people being more centered around the perception of reality than reality itself actually makes perfect sense.
Yes.
And to run around... I mean, this is maybe something I would do, is a little bit of an aside here.
Yeah.
If you are still running around going, why aren't our leaders taking political realities, at face value and talking to us, the people, about them?
Yeah.
You are still completely barking up the wrong tree. Because I'm sorry, but if we were to run the world in the way that we pleased, we would still, at least for a small time period, without causing some sort of mass amnesia event and loss of meaning amongst millions of people who are politically engaged, you would have to fill that void. And you couldn't fill that void with facts of reality. You'd have to fill it with your own narrative, your truth regime, whatever you want to call it. And that fundamentally, at this scale of governing, perception matters more than reality.
Yes, it
and
does.
You have to take that on board. And you have to realise that that's what they are thinking about when they make these decisions.
This, again, I thought people would understand when we said tell a better lie. But we've obviously had to become a bit more explicit because I thought people understood what we meant by tell a better lie. But that's what we're saying. You have to have your own narrative, and it is the narrative of events, not the events themselves that most people interact with. Most people do not experience these supposedly life-changing events firsthand.
Excuse me, I think you find this changes everything.
Yeah, and again, it's very this changes everything. So to recap, the political elite set the agenda, and it's an aggregate of what they want.
Over an atomised population. That are desperate for something to do.
Yes, and the idea of the Overton window is just people's misunderstanding of the fact that the conversation...
The frame is set.
Yeah, the frame is set top down, and if the frame is set top down, it can be modified, changed at any moment, because the frame is simply a product of what the elites want it to be.
I'm gonna take a bucket that you would make a sandcastle in.
Yes.
And I'm going to fill it full of sand and make a sandcastle.
Yeah.
And I'm going to fill it full of cement and make another thing. It's going to be the same shape, isn't it? Even though I've changed the materials within. And this is the fundamental point. The shape of the container, the thing you can't see because you're not supposed to look at it, because it's effectively the giant organised whole between governance, media, and the intelligence services, that's the container. That's the mould. That is what's setting the shapes that come out of it.
Well, let's have a quick look at the previous political moments. Tell you what, the big thing that people thought would never happen is that people have forgotten COVID.
I saw a thing the other day about they were actually going to try and do somebody for the whole ventilator thing. And I actually sat there for a moment and thought, even of red-pilled folk, how many people would know any of the details of the ventilator scandal that happened in 2020, 2021?
Yeah, 20. If you remember the whole ventilator, we need more ventilators, and it turns out
They were blowing people's lungs
yeah,
up
they were
with them.
actually just killing people with them. That is uncontroversial now. That is horrible, and it's something that did happen. And if it was commented on at the time, it would have caused. Can you imagine headlines? You know, government lies to population, kills people with ventilators.
But it's a novelty.
It is now a footnote, and people didn't think that a population would commit to unlimited house arrest. And in fact, what happened was they caused too much trouble for themselves. Have you printed too much money for the lockdowns? Blame the war. Well, what war? It's 2022. This war. But the problem is that people have also moved on from Ukraine.
Oh, do you hate the Rat King? Don't you hate Zelensky? But it's okay, because JD Vance is sick as foot, lad, and he's going to put Zelensky in his place.
Well, before this, what happened was people were brought out of the COVID paradigm and immediately subsumed in the idea they had to get back to work because World War III was coming. But is the war, is the war going badly? Well, de-emphasize it with another conflict. Is Ukraine failing? Is it stalling? Is it embarrassment? Well, find another war. Well, what other war?
The war.
The war.
The only war.
The greatest war. God's chosen war. And here we are. October 7th happens, and we love the nation of Israel. It's October, so what are you talking about? Ukraine? No, we have to.
COVID? What was
War has been declared, as Farage said. For decency's sake, we must stand unequivocally with Israel.
But do you know who else loves Israel?
You know who else loves Israel? Well, is this narrative getting a bit tired? Well, you know who else loves the nation of Israel?
Donald Trump.
It's Donald Trump. Oh, look, it's Donald Trump, and Ukraine is so over, and
Farage is back.
Woo! Take that.
This changes everything. Take that, liberals.
What leftists? What liberals? Well, European liberals. Take that, woke Denmark. Southport, rape gangs, two-tier Kia. We're not talking about that anymore.
Because Trump's buying Greenland.
Nigel will sort it, but wait, no, Rupert will sort it, and wait, no.
Robert Jenrick will sort it.
The
Where's
Overton.
Lee Anderson these days?
Can you feel it?
Is he under my rug? I can't see.
Can you feel it, Evelyn? It's happening. The Overton window. Whoa, the Overton window shifting.
But, like, seriously, has anyone seen Lee Anderson? Is he under or behind somebody's couch? Like, what's the...
I've put the PNG. I've moved some other stuff, but I'm not quite sure where now.
I mean, where's Katie Hopkins these days? Has she not got an important piece to like play in the conversation, or is she irrelevant because there's not going to be another Tommy March for a couple of months?
I don't know. Hopefully that takes you through it. But yeah, it's amazing. All of these instances, because we've had this happen so many. But when we do it like that, I think people realize, one, how this works, and two, how there has to be a next paradigm, because these are unstable paradigms.
Well, I want to follow on with the next little bit you got here. Within this, you have a lot of deeply emotive and psychologically grabbing mini storylines that are usually tailored to a specific national audience, and they're very briefly international stories. A lot of people swore they'd never leave the streets over Southport or the rape gangs inquiry. But right now, those people are posting AI Ghibli slop about JD Vance.
Yes.
So the slop must go on.
The slop must go on.
But it doesn't matter that Axel Rib went and did what he did, because Adolescence was filmed, and that's stinky leftist media. Ooh.
Yeah, there's still people being... God, I think that's actually different. Thing is, if you type in a Southport attack, what you get now is actually unrelated news.
Oh,
it's got so far out of the headlines that if you type Southport attack, there's a little bit about Prevent here from 4 days ago, but this has disappeared out of the headlines. This is one of the little moments that people thought would not go away.
There's another little moment. Luigi Mangione.
Oh God! Oh, I forgot. Do you remember that? Do you remember the CEO assassin? Remember him?
Did somebody find him like in the back of like their like drying cupboard or something? It's like, oh, I ran through all the towels that I've not used for years, and Luigi Mangione was hanging around the back.
It's like Chuck Mangione, you know?
Yeah.
God. Okay.
The political moment also leads to alliances that, in the moment, The political moment also leads to alliances that, in the moment, fragment and dissipate political energy in between and sometimes within different client groups. And this continuous sort of scrap and scuffle leads to everyone essentially jostling for position. We're
Yes.
too busy fighting each other in the democratic electoral milieu to actually bother to take the regime on as the single entity that it is. And we end up at odds with one another. I mean, I genuinely look for the moment in future where Reform has its Sikh caucus and its Muslim caucus and its Hindu caucus, and these three caucuses within the Reform Party. You're getting deported, bro. No, you're getting deported, bro. No, you lot are
No,
totally
you're getting
bro,
deported,
innit?
bro. Innit? Now we got signed with Nigel Farage, and we is not getting deported. Innit?
Farage said we Muslims is cool, yeah. So you see,
Yeah, yeah.
he's getting totally deported. Yeah.
We is cool kids now. It's just, I'll see if I can find. Where's the reform? Oh, God, I put there. It is okay.
Oh, you mean the Reform Hounslow branch?
The From Hounslow branch is just this is the political moment. There we go. Look, it's just these two images.
Burger, 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 burger.
Poor woman in the back there. But this is what we mean by the alliances of convenience in the political moment that look fucking stupid.
What? Excuse me, do you not think they're going to help us make Britain great again?
I mean, there's this, and we'll get onto this, but this is exactly what what people are doing is they are having compromises extracted for them for fake victories within a political moment that is being moved on.
Are you trying to tell me that all this working hand in glove with Jewish lobbyists in America to deport a tiny number of people actually isn't going to work in the long run? That's not winning?
This is what the majority of people who posted, that something needs to be done about Southport supported as the solution. This is
Vote for reform.
Yeah,
they'll change everything.
This is the outgrowth of the political moment of Southport. Welcome to your victory.
Yeah, and I mean, I think when we both kind of first said it a couple of months ago that Southport and the grooming gangs and whatever else, these moments had kind of sailed, I thought maybe we were being a bit too like short
No.
with that. But if anything, it's gone worse than we could have ever expected.
People are numb to it now. As we'll drive into people, it's one of our
Terrorist attack?
mantras.
No, that doesn't matter.
Well, it's one of
because
our-
now some university undergraduate.
It's one of our
maths-
mantras that what is no longer revelation is normalization.
Yes.
Fair enough. And it's the point as well that we've been quite solid with this stuff. I know we repeat some of our stuff, and yes, what is no longer revelations, normalization is one of them, but it's very true. There's also a very uncomfortable sense that we don't understand how the left feels. We don't understand that really they're in the exact same boat as we are.
I mean,
the
imagine-
uncomfortable sense of being contorted to meet the current moment is something both sides of the political spectrum feel as they take part in the liberal compromise. This is from a previous stream, but there are people who would rather adopt the "it didn't happen" frame. About it's embarrassing. It doesn't work with their worldview. It's like the the St. David's the hotel bombings in Israel for the Zionist right. They'd rather just pretend it never happened. But they're forced to because of the liberal compromise.
USS what?
Yeah, we end up in a position where things sort of happen. Things are sort of agreed.
Depending on who you speak to.
Yes, depending on who you speak to. But that is the process that it's not just about the right, that everybody feels very unhappy, not only with the political moment, the compromise that come out of it, but also the alliances made during it.
Yeah, and I think as well to sort of reiterate the point you're making there,
Yeah.
you can have leftist narratives, you can have rightist narratives, you can have centre-left narratives, you can centre-right narratives, and everything in between. And really all you have to do is offer your own narrative that aggregates enough of the different bits of other people's stories together in a way that means you can turn around and go, well, we're legitimate rulers. Now, I understand some level that is still like come up with narrative, explain it to the people, question marks, victory.
Yeah.
But that is ultimately the element of politics that we're trying to get at here, is the stuff that's happening behind the scenes so that one moment as it's becoming inconvenient can flow into another without too many people turning around and going, what's happened here? What's going on? Because you've never got time to genuinely question what's happening. Because before you get to the moment of thinking, what's happening here, something else has happened. Oh no, more things are happening.
What it reminds me of really is just like, oh god, they're all fucking Reddit. I hate Reddit so much. And you can't even view it properly. Oh, thank you.
For the benefit of the viewer, trying to drag up a TF2 team balance thing here to demonstrate the point.
Google Images is so bad. You know what? I'm gonna go to Yandex because Yandex actually lets you see the images. But yeah, the it really does feel like you are, you have been balanced to Team Blue. You are now attacking.
Yeah,